but I genuinely don't know how I look.
Fresh funky step, number gang. At the top, it's a flex, have a press. In my bank, oh yeah, yeah, we stank. Then I'm a chance, we just hustling for the stacks. Had to do it for my mama and my grands. Had to push the hustle hard for the fam. I hella fresh when we step.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Nkhensani, also known as Sunny, and we are back with another video. If this is your first time seeing my face, which is coming across my channel, hi, my name is Nkhensani. Welcome. I hope you get to be a part of this beautiful tribe. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are a returning subscriber, hi Bestie, welcome. We are back. Yeah, we are back with another video, and this time we are doing a sit down. This is going to be a first of many. I just wanted to share my thoughts on a couple of things, and I'm very excited. So just a quick backstory. Recently I did a fasting and prayer for 10 days, and we were reading the book of Esther. Right, so the reason this actually happened was last, I think November, December, I did a fasting and prayer, and this time I was just doing it alone, and God had put it in my heart. But then this year, God put it in my heart again to do fasting and prayer, but this time not alone. So God was like, I need you to get people, rally up people, pray with people, stop doing it alone, because this is bigger than yourself. I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning I was kind of like hesitant, because usually when I just do fasting and prayer, I have a structure of how I do things and read the word, pray, and it's just me and God. So this time it's like I had to like include other people in it, and it was just very overwhelming, but I'm grateful that God carried me through it. And I was joined by a few beautiful ladies, and it was just beautiful. It was very wholesome, very eye-opening, and I've learned so much from all the ladies in the group. And even the testimonies after the 10 days of fasting have been exceptional. One of the testimonies is one of the ladies had an interview and she got the job. So that is huge, because won't God do it? Only God will do it. All right, so I'm just going to give you a backstory just quickly. I'm going to paraphrase, summarize the book of Esther quickly, and just let you know what I learned from it, what stood out for me. Yeah, so I just want you to just hold that it's what I learned. All right, you can go and read the book of Esther, you'll learn something different possibly. So yeah, the book of Esther, I'm just gonna have my other phone here just in case I need to quote any scripture specifically. If you want to write down notes, feel free to do so. So from the book of Esther, from chapter 1, what basically happens is there's a king called Xerxes. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's probably the last time I said it. I'll just refer to him as the king. So basically what happens with the king is that he is the king of his kingdom, and he hosts a feast, right? And when he hosts a feast, this feast is for 7 days. So it's, imagine 7 days of just groove, food, music. That's basically what happened. And he even quotes in the scripture, I just want to quote to just explain. Okay, so this is Esther chapter 1 verse 5. When these days were over, the king gave a banquet lasting 7 days, and in the enclosed garden of the king's palace, for all the people, from the least to the greatest, of who were in the citadel of Susa. So the feast was open to everybody, no classes, and the king was with the men in a specific garden, and Queen Vashti, who was his wife, was hosting the women in a different type of area. And as this is happening, the word says there was a flow of alcohol. Just want to quote it to be specific. Let's see. I'm having trouble finding it. Oh yeah. Verse 8, by the king's command, each guest was allowed to drink with no restrictions, for the king instructed all wine stewards to serve each man what he wished. So in terms of alcohol, food, everything was there. Like, it was a 7-day party. So imagine Monday to Friday, just groove. Hectic. So when this is happening on the last day, the king requested Queen Vashti to be brought in front of him. I'm thinking for her to just be seen by the guests, because she was probably pretty, she's the queen, and he's like, I just want to show her off. And she refused. Queen Vashti was like, I'm not doing that, I'm not coming. So the king was very offended by this, because she disobeyed his orders, which that's breaking a rule. And he had experts, like advisors around him, and they were like, that is not allowed. You can't have a queen and your wife, disrespect you like that. Something has to be done. So the king is like, all right, what can be done? And then they advised that she be dethroned, removed from the throne completely. And the king agrees with this, and then they decide that they will send out a decree for virgins all around to be brought in front of him, and then he will choose those that please him, and then they will go through a process of being turned into a queen, basically, and he still has to choose the one that he favors, and then that will be the queen. So this is when we are introduced to Esther. Esther is described as a beautiful young woman with a beautiful figure, and she is raised by Mordecai. And this is because both her parents passed away. So Mordecai takes guardianship over her and raises her. And he lets her know that, hey, by the way, you're going to be going to the palace and going through this process. So basically, it's almost like, I don't want to say it's almost like South Africa, but like, it's like all the girls from South Africa, or from, let's just say, from Johannesburg, so that they can go see the queen or the virgins, and then whoever he finds pleases him will go through a 12-month process. And in the 12-month process, they're basically being prepared to be a queen. And if you're a commoner and you have to be turned into a queen, the things that you have to be taught: how to talk, how to dress, how to look in terms of skin, a lot of things. And this takes 12 months, and Esther finds favor with the king, and the person who is recruiting finds Esther. She finds favor in that person, and she goes into the next round. And for the next 12 months, she has to go through a vigorous process of being turned into a queen. In these 12 months, she does exactly what she's told by Mordecai. Don't reveal your background, just be faithful, be obedient. And she does that, and at the end, when she's brought in front of the king, she actually finds favor with the king, and she becomes the queen. So as I think by now we're in the book of Esther chapter 3, and as she is now becoming the queen and everything, a ball is thrown for her to celebrate, which was called the Esther Ball. And yeah, that's how Esther became the queen. So in chapter 3, it is learned of, I think it's chapter 3, or just before chapter 3, Mordecai, during Esther's preparation process, he constantly checked up on her to see how she's doing. And immediately when she gets crowned as queen, Mordecai overhears or learns of a plot to kill the king, and he notifies Esther, and then she tells her husband, and those perpetrators are brought to book. So I just wanted to quickly highlight that. And then in chapter 3, we learn of Haman. Haman is one of the king's, I want to say, subjects, and he's basically like a favorite, because the king just, gives him gifts and asks for his advice. And Haman does not like the Jews. like he's just not a fan, and he wants them destroyed. And he made a decree, or he asked the king to make a decree for all the Jews to bow down to him. So Mordecai did not listen to that decree. He just saw Haman as just an ordinary human being, and he was just not going to praise him or bow down to him. And that annoyed Haman, because he's like, the king made this decree, you should respect me. So what happens is Haman makes a decree as well with the king that everybody who's a Jew, well, not a Jew, but like they have to be harmed, basically. And Mordecai learns of this and notifies Esther in the palace that, hey, by the way, Haman's at it again. He made a decree with the king that our people must be hurt, and the people are the Jews. So this scares Esther as well, because she is part of those people, and just because she's in the palace does not necessarily mean she won't get hurt. But so what she does is she advises Mordecai and says, tell everybody back at home to pray. For 3 days we're going to be fasting, and I'll be doing the same. So Esther goes and fasts for 3 days and decides to approach the king after that, to ask him for the people not to be harmed. And then after that happens, after the fasting, she goes to the king and she lets him know, hey, the king asks her, what is it that you want? Whatever your heart pleases, the king will do for you. So at first she says, I want to have dinner with the king and Haman. So the king's like, sure, no problem, granted. And she has dinner with the king and Haman the first time. And after the first time, Haman is overjoyed, because not only is he a favorite with the king, but now he's a favorite with the queen. And he goes home and tells his wife, the queen finds, I've found favor in the queen's eyes, and we just had dinner, and we're going to have another dinner, and it's coming. So as this is happening, Esther, I think, is planning a way of letting the king know of Haman's plan for her people. And they come back for another sit down. So as this is happening, the king asks Esther, I know you want to ask me something, just ask me already. And she says to the king, my people are being planned against. Someone wants to hurt them, an adversary. So the king is like, who is that? Who is that person who wants to hurt your people, including you? And she says, it's your favorite Haman. It's him. And then the king makes a decree that Haman should be like stopped, should not be allowed to hurt people. And he's shocked by this, because this whole time he's thinking I'm the king's favorite. So let me just try to find an exact, I'm gonna quote. Oh yes, so it says, Esther chapter 7 verse 5, it says, the king asked Esther, who is he? Where is he, the man who has dared to do such a thing? Right, so this is after she tells the king, someone wants to destroy my people. And the king is like, who is that? And then Esther says, an adversary, an enemy, the vile Haman. And then Haman is just shocked, because he's like, what is happening? And so as he does this, the king says, decrees that Haman be taken out and be stripped of all his powers. And he is stripped of all his powers, and now Esther's trying to speak on behalf of the Jews so that they don't get hurt. But in the process of all this, the king is reading through the transcripts, and he remembers that there's someone who told him of the spies that tried to murder him. So he's asking himself, did the man who actually saved my life get rewarded, which is Mordecai? And it comes to his attention that the person was actually not rewarded. So the king asks Haman, what do you think, or which reward do you think the person should receive? So Haman is thinking, this guy is talking about me. So he names all these lavish things, only to find out that these rewards are for Mordecai. So Mordecai gets this favor, gets these rewards, and as per usual, Haman is annoyed. And fast forward, we're now where Esther has asked the king if, Esther has told the king that Haman is the one trying to destroy people, and Esther is given Haman's estate. So everything that belonged to Haman now belongs to Esther, and Haman is now out in the cold, and he's going to be punished. So he's going to be impaled in the same pole that he wanted to hang or impale Mordecai. So after that, Mordecai gets all the great power. The Jews are freed, and they get to fight for their freedom as well. So that's basically what happens in the book of Esther. I hope I paraphrased it short enough. I was going really quickly. So for me, in the book of Esther, as much as it's a very short book, I've genuinely learned a lot. I even wrote a few notes of the few things that I just learned from the book of Esther. So in chapter 1, I don't know how I feel about Queen Vashti, because I feel like her saying no to coming to the king and be put on display, I personally don't feel like it disqualifies her from being queen. But one of the ladies in the prayer group raised something so important. She was like, some events don't make sense, but they have to happen in order for other things to come through. And Queen Vashti had to disobey in order for her to be removed or dethroned in order for Esther to come through. We wouldn't know Esther if Vashti was still in the picture. So as much as I don't think I'll ever understand or get why Vashti was dethroned for just disobeying the king. It's not just disobeying the king, it's a big deal. But just saying no to that one thing got her dethroned. But that had to happen for Esther to come in. Right? And Esther's character has taught me the importance of obedience and faithfulness. Before she went through the 12-month process of being prepared to be queen or whatever, she had to be obedient by saying, yes, I'll go through this process, and be faithful and remind herself to not mention who she is, which is something she was told not to do. So she remained faithful. And a 12-month process is a long time. It's basically a year for us. And she didn't know at the end of all this that she would be queen. She couldn't have known. They saying, imagine if all the girls in your area, just in your town, if all of them came together and they were like, the prettiest or the one that pleases the king is going to be queen, the last thing I'm thinking is it's going to be me. There's so many pretty girls, educated, smart. The last thing I'm thinking is that it's going to be me. But Esther remained faithful and obedient, even though she did not know the result. And I think as Christians, that's the most difficult thing, is that we do not know what's going to come out of the end result, but we still have to remain faithful in the season that we're in. I don't know if I'm going to be queen. I don't know if I'm going to be kicked out. I don't know if I'm still going to be alive. But choosing to remain faithful is so important in each and every season that we do. And I even made a note. I was like, if you are faithful with the little, then God will entrust you with the much. So Esther was faithful with just the instruction of being obedient and listening to what she's instructed to do. And because of that obedience and that faithfulness, she was able to move on to the next season, which is being queen. And I even made a note. I was like, how are we showing up in the process leading to the crown? So the process leading to the crown is the 12th month for Esther, where she's being prepared. Imagine you are a commoner, and then after 12 months, you're going to be queen. You have to go through a process of talking different, looking different, speaking different. But sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, is that we want to skip the process and just get to the end result, forgetting that the process is actually preparing us for there. And the process is the key to us making it in the next season. Because imagine a situation where Esther's made queen after one day, and now she has to be in charge of a whole kingdom. One, she doesn't even know how to talk like a queen. She doesn't know how to carry herself like a queen. She doesn't know how to think like a queen. But those 12 months were crucial to prepare her to be queen. And as a Christian, it's not easy. And I get why the process is important. I understand it, and I think it's the one thing that stood out for me in this entire book is not only trusting the process, but living fully in the process and learning, because whatever it is that you're learning, whatever challenge you're facing in that process is the only way you make it to the next. It's the only way. You cannot jump it or get a shortcut through to the other side. So I think for me that's what stood out the most. Also the importance of relationships. Esther was surrounded by the right people. It's very important for us to be surrounded by people for the right reasons and learn from those people. Imagine a situation where Esther was surrounded by someone who had no faith. When she heard from Mordecai that our people are in trouble, her first response was, go pray for 3 days. I'm going to pray and fast for 3 days as well before I approach the king. So she could have easily said, nope, I'm the queen. I'm going to call the king now. I'm going to fix this. But no, she was like, I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to pray. I'm going to fast and then approach the king. I'm going to give it to God first before I take charge. And in a lot of situations as people, and I am guilty of this as well, we want to just quickly fix things and not run to God and ask God to fix it for us. And that's the life we should be living. We should be running to God for God to fix it and then act, not vice versa. Because when we want God to come in after we've intervened, we've already said to God, I think we really basically saying to God that He's the backup plan. And that's not who and what God is in our life. He should be the only plan. Another note, I said the period it took to prepare Esther before she went before the king speaks to the power of remaining obedient during God's process. It's like I was saying that in the process of being prepared for the next season, or the process of being prepared to be a parent or a job, it's really, really hard to see the end goal when you don't know what it is, because things could go either way. You could either get the job or not get it. You know, those are the realities. But you need to remain faithful, trusting and believing that you will get the job, trusting and believing that God is going to do it for you because He said He'd do it for you. And that's hard. It's very hard. But there's so much power in remaining faithful and being obedient and trusting God and being by God as this happens. Being by God's side, reading the word, praying, staying connected, so important. And I think one of the most important things that stood out for me was, I even made a note, I said, the Lord's plan will always prevail. Yes, Haman was a favorite for a while, but the favor that was on Esther's life passed down onto Mordecai and her people. So she basically freed her people because of her faithfulness and her obedience. She was able to not only help Mordecai, but also help the people, which are the Jews. So imagine a situation where you are not obedient in your season. How many people are being affected by that? Because you're only thinking, no one will know, just going to be disobedient. But the trickle-down effect is so many people are going to be hurt, your children, generations, your family. But we do not think of this when we have to be obedient. We do not think of this when we disobey God. We're not thinking of all the people that are affected by it. We do not. And these are the things that we are supposed to be looking out for and being careful of. And another thing that stood out for me was I'm not sure which book it is in the book of Esther. I think it's between 5 and 8, where Haman basically rewards Mordecai without even being aware that he's rewarding Mordecai. Because when he gets into the king's presence, the king says, how do I favor a man that has found favor with me? So automatically Haman is thinking he's talking about me, but the king was actually talking about Mordecai. And he named all these lavish things because that's what he thought he was going to get. And only to find out that that's going to be given to Mordecai, a man that he despised because Mordecai was not willing to bow down to him. As much as I do not like this, sometimes our wins, or the only way to get to our wins, is through our adversaries, or through our challenges, or through our enemies. Sometimes our challenges are the ones that hold the key to us getting through to the next level. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but Mordecai was not going to receive the reward that he received if it was not for Haman. So if it was not for your challenges, if it was not for those people that make your life difficult, if it was not for those people that constantly just beat you down, you are not able to get through to the other side, because those people need to break you down to strengthen you. Those people are holding your blessings, even though they are not aware of it, but God is using them to get you ready for the next season. And it's very hard to admit that. Even saying it out loud sounds crazy. Like, the person who dislikes me is going to help me get to the next level. How? But they are there for a reason. The same reason why Vashti was in the palace when this all began, and the same reason why Haman was there, is so that Mordecai could prosper to the next season, so that Esther could prosper to the next season. If all these people are not there, there is no Mordecai having great power. There is no Esther being a queen. So yeah, I learned a lot. And I think the one lesson, or one thing that stood out for me about the book of Esther overall, would have to be how God is not even mentioned once in the book of Esther. I don't remember a scripture where God is directly mentioned in the book of Esther, but we see him. And I think the reason God wanted me to specifically fast and read the book of Esther was so that I realized that it's not everywhere where I have to mention that, oh, by the way, I'm Christian, or have to say it. Sometimes it needs to show. Not sometimes, but you have to see God. When you see me, you need to see the love of God. When I walk into a place, I shouldn't have to announce that I'm a child of God. I shouldn't have to announce that I'm a child of God. It should just be me. I should be the love of God. I should walk the love of God. I should show the love of God. And this means the way I talk, the way I carry myself, the way I treat others. Because it's not every time where you're going to get a chance to say, hi, my name is Nkhensani, I'm saved. You know, I think for me, that's what's the main reason, or the one lesson I'm taking away from the book of Esther, is we do not have to always mention God. We just have to be God. We need to represent God. And my pastor always likes saying that we are ambassadors of the word. We are ambassadors of God. And not everybody gets to experience God on a level that we do. So it's important that we become the experience of God. So a person who was not raised in the church, or a person who's not saved, the only way they can have access to God is through us. And when we have all these walls up and we try and put on a facade, or we think we're better, we are robbing someone else the opportunity of experiencing God's love the way we experience it. That's powerful. It's very powerful. So yeah, that's what I learned from the book of Esther. I'm looking forward to just going back to my notes and learning more. I hope you also will be able to go through the book of Esther. Just read through it. It's a very short book. Write down what you've learned, what stood out for you. These for me are what stood out for me, and what I learned from it. And I'm definitely gonna go back. I'm definitely gonna go back to the book of Esther, because there's a lot. There's a lot to process. There's a lot to learn. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm enjoying slowly reading the word of God without any expectation. Because I think for me, most of the time when I read the word, I'm like, oh, I know the book of Matthew, so this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this means this, and this means that. But reading it from a point where I'm not expecting anything. I'm going with an open heart, ready to learn. Yeah, it's very awesome. So yeah, we have come to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I didn't bore you. If you made it to the end of this video or this part of the video, I'm gonna need you to post the white heart, am I doing it right? A white heart in the comments below, so I know that you made it to the end of the video. All right, and yeah, please don't forget to like, comment, and share. Let me know what you think. What stood out for you in the book of Esther? What book do you think I should be reading next and talking about here with you guys? Yeah, it's been a great time. I'll see you guys in the next video. Love you guys loads.